Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You know, were we a little more resilient this year? I think so, right away, without, diving right into it. And we handled a lot of adversity, throughout the series here. We played hard, like I said. It wasn't like we rolled over or anything like that. We were in every hockey game as far as our compete level. I think we improved in that area, but obviously there's a lot of areas that were the same.
That's all fine and great. I need Bill Guerin's unfiltered, uncensored take on what happened.
I think you're going to get that as we're recording. I believe their end of the season press conference is Monday morning. Monday morning.
It is right now. Actually, let's see here. Okay, so Jesse Pierce, friend of Judd's hockey show.
About to say, yeah.
Friend of
and also of Purple Daily.
I love Jesse.
Right.
Score North contributor, Jesse Pierce. So she just tweeted, Gustafsson speaks to the media for exit day. Quote, "I've had so much fun all year," he said. "We had a tough start to the season, and then I thought we kind of took off. I've had so much fun all year. I want to know what Guerin thinks. There's no fun allowed here. Spurgey, Gus Bus, this is about bleeping winning, not hard work, not having fun. No fun. No fun until you get to the second round and advance from there."
2 game sixes Saturday, as I tweeted, the compete was so high. It was great. Just grit and grime down to the wire. Just a lot of caring, and then you had the Wild. It was fun. Our local Bantam team. They had a great time. Hey, guys, when's the pizza party? Whose mom's driving? Unbelievable.
Well, that's probably a good. It's probably a good segue. Okay. Wow. I love that Judd's just off the rails.
I've been working
here,
out for 3 days. Just ask Declan.
Now on Mackey and Judd,
This chart makes it as clear as I can to you.
the pie chart of blame.
You want to blame somebody?
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, this pie chart of blame, is this for the series or for the season, or what's the lens
This
that
is
we're
for the
viewing?
series. Oh no, it's the series. It's
For the series. Okay.
Yeah, because the season was great fun. Everyone had a good time. We carpooled to practice all the time. No, I want to talk about when it actually meant something.
Okay, so this is the pie chart of blame, Judd's pie chart of wild blame for a disappointing 6-game series loss to the Stars, presented by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Declan.
Yeah, Underdog Fantasy is still the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. And I know the Wolves and Wild are done. Doesn't mean, you can't take some prop bets, maybe on the Warriors, maybe on some D'Angelo Russell. You got some prop bets you could make there, okay? You could still actually have a lot of different bets you could make with your old friends on Minnesota sports teams who are still living in the playoffs at Underdog Fantasy. First-time users, promo bonus with the promo code SCORE, S-K-O-R. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. Show us those slips and go download the Underdog Fantasy app.
Okay, before we get to Judd's pie chart here, some breaking NHL news. What's the most random NHL news I can throw at you? I think it might be this. The Athletic has confirmed Snoop Dogg is buying the Ottawa Senators.
What?
Oh, he's involved in a group?
Snoop Dogg is involved in a group led by Nico Sparks to purchase the Ottawa Senators.
Really? Well, he's a huge hockey guy.
I know.
Because what I believe, if I am correct on this, I think the expectation was that the Ryan Reynolds group had a really good chance.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
To
Canadian.
get the team. Yeah, he's a big fan.
And they had a bunch of success. Is it Wrexham, this whole thing, or this
Yeah,
soccer
they've been
team?
promoted to like the 3rd league.
4th league, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, just really exciting.
It's a cool story, I guess. Anyways, all right, here's Judd's pie chart of blame.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
So I literally sat down last night and had to start throwing people off the pie chart of blame boat because I ran out of percentages to give guys. So strap in. I got 7 pieces of pie. It should be more, but I couldn't do it.
Let's go.
I couldn't do it because there were
The Rock
certain people who
knows
had
how
to
you
get
feel about
a
pie.
certain amount. Okay, I didn't want to leave the most important people out. I'm gonna start at the bottom and, as always, work my way up. All right, 3%, a small little 3% slice goes to Marcus Johansson, who was so good down the stretch, but was on the ice for 12 goals against. That's right, 12 goals against in this series.
What?
He was a plus -5, but the 12 goals against factor in penalty kill goals or power play goals by Dallas. And if there was like a silhouette for this entire series, it might be Marcus Johansson reaching out with his stick, hopelessly beaten. Yes, Declan, just for those of you watching, Declan just did a great job at hopelessly beaten on the penalty kill as the Dallas Stars, as Rope Hintz scores again or gets an assist again. Marcus Johansson on the ice for 12 goals against.
Yeah, what would the pie chart of blame be for that 3% of him being on? Like, what of those 12 goals scored when he's on the ice? How would you divvy up that pie chart for him?
Well,
like, how responsible was he for those 12 goals? I'm curious.
They all played a role, but the fact was, like, how many times did we need to see him, as Declan did, extending himself hopelessly out of the play before you said, you know what, this penalty killing thing, it's not working out. We'll get to the man to blame, believe me. But anyway, Marcus Johansson, you get a 3% chunk.
Okay.
This is a guy I'd like to give more to, but again, I couldn't because I had to divvy this thing up very carefully, surgically, if you will. 3% goes to Mats Zuccarello. So here's the thing. He had 2 goals and tied for the team lead with 5 points. Now, the 2 goals came in the Game 3 rout of the Stars, in which the Wild played fabulous at home and really, again, took a 2-1 lead, set up an expectation. But Mats Zuccarello never developed a bit of chemistry with Kaprizov. Once Kaprizov came back, like it was just poof, gone. And if you go back and look, the amount of turnovers and stupid passes that he was responsible for was off the charts. Like, he made a lot of what I would call subtle losing plays. You had to be watching to see them, but they were there. So ultimately, 2 goals and 5 points, very hollow, very hollow. He gets 3%. Dude, you're a veteran. You're on the first line. You clearly weren't going to be moved off that first line. I got to have more. I didn't get it. 3%.
Okay. Yeah, I would actually move that up. I thought he was terrible. I know the 5 points. Those are very hollow 5 points, and obviously he's not the superstar players that are responsible for scoring goals. I know you're going to get to it, but I thought he was legitimately the worst player on the ice for the Wild throughout this whole playoff series. He was horrible.
And you might be right. This process, I put more work in it, tortured me than any game did for that damn team. So believe me, I struggled to divvy this up correctly. I do feel, Dex, like you're going to like the next 2 because I don't think that these guys' names have been used in vain enough, but we're going to rectify that here.
Right. The Rock knows how you
won't
feel
hear
about
this
pie.
on the flagship. 9%.
Just blazing
or Bally Sports North. I'm just saying there's a lot of blame. There's a lot of blame here that I want to get out. There's a lot to get off my chest. It's been a weekend.
I did see some people complaining about like the local media outlets that carry the games, that there was a little bit too much sugarcoating for some fans' taste. I saw some of that in our Twitter. I didn't hear like what they were saying, but that there really is no reason to go easy. Like they just they blew the series. What about the notion that the best team won the series? That the Stars regular season were the best team, Stars were favored, the Vegas line, everything. Like ultimately the Stars were the best team going into the series. They won the series, so therefore we should exonerate the Wild.
Here's what I think the problem with that is, okay? And here's where again we didn't hear nearly enough criticism. The best team might have won, but the Wild for 2 games punted. Those last 2 games were disgusting. And for Dean to get up there and say, there's no problem with work here, that's a bunch of garbage, man. You're gaslighting your entire fan base. And furthermore, you're covering your own ass. Your last 2 games, if it's possible, because I watched all of the games on Saturday and Sunday, I'm more worked up now than I was on Friday. I saw competition. I saw playoff hockey. I saw sacrifice. I saw people that wanted it. And guess what? For those who say, well, the best team won. Phil, you've been saying this for how long? Since we started. It's hockey. The Boston Bruins just were eliminated by the Panthers. What, 43-point discrepancy, Declan?
That's what's annoying. It's like hockey
So don't give me that crap.
Hockey is very random unless you're the Minnesota Wild.
Correct. Yes.
That's what kind of pisses me off. It's like, okay, so In any given year, the Kings can get hot with Jonathan Quick and make a run as a 7 or an 8 seed to the Cup Finals, or the Panthers can knock off the highest scoring team in NHL history. So all these crazy things can happen unless you're the Wild. You just, no matter what the circumstances are, you just get beat in a 5 or 6 game series in the first round.
The Kraken beat Colorado last night, Game 7. So don't give me this. Well, first of all, if Dallas was the best team between those two teams, Declan, it was very small, right? Like, it wasn't this big gap. So don't give it. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, I completely agree. Judd was actually pretty tame on Friday during Vent Line. I was, I think, a little bit more worked up. Our fans were worked up that joined us. So this is now all coming out from Judd.
I tried to keep things calm. Hey, listen, sports therapy is all about knowing when to try and be calm and when to lose it. And now I've just about lost it.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right. 9% slice of pie goes to Jonas Brodin. All right. I sing his praises constantly, and I think he is a very good player. That being said, he was on the ice for 9 goals against, including 7 power play goals against. All right. Jonas Brodin is a marvelous defensive player. He's a stabilizer. He's the exact type of guy who is not supposed to be on the ice for 7 power play goals against. 9%. Step right up. I expect more. You can't disappear when the playoffs start. The regular season is there to get you to the playoffs. The playoffs are when you shine. 9%.
It's remarkable how, and I know there's still pieces of pie left, but it has been the same defensive core for the Wild throughout this whole losing streak of 8 first-round exits. It's been Spurgeon, Brodin, Dumba. It's been the same with
some Suter in there.
You know, there's some Suter in there. Jake Middleton's now been here for a few playoff series, but those 3 guys, specifically Brodin, Spurgeon, Dumba, have all each logged, an average, I'm sure, of 19 to 21 minutes per playoff game and have little to no impact on the winning, or have little to no impact on the winning of those playoff series either.
Can Faber change that in the coming years?
Hopefully.
Well, he can help, but you might have to change the face of a few guys. I'm not advocating for... I like Brodin, and I don't think that he should be gone. But I'm about to give a slice of pie to a guy that the more I think about it, I might shop his ass. 10%. Again, not nearly as much as I think he deserves, but I had to withhold pie slices. Percentages. 10% Jared Spurgeon. Get this, okay? Get this. He was on the ice, and this goes exactly what Dex is saying. He was on the ice for 14 of the Stars' 21 goals in the series, and 6 of the 9 power play goals. He was, the last time the Wild played a Pete DeBoer team, which was the Vegas Golden Knights in 21, Jared Spurgeon, in that series, which went the full 7 games, was a -6. So he was on the ice, non-power play or shorthanded or penalty kill goals against. He was a -6 when it was 5-on-5 essentially, or 4-on-4 in 21 against the Golden Knights. Yeah. And this is where I think what Declan said is 100% right. I think you got to start to look at this, man. I think you got to start to look at this. I mean, he's a great regular season player, but is he built for, literally because of his size, is he built for the playoffs? I don't know, man.
You have to draw
stats.
The Timberwolves have this same conundrum. You have to sort of balance the emotional letdown of another bad playoff series with smart, forward-thinking roster construction that can get you to where you want to go, and not just saying, let's get his ass out of here because they lost, right? Like, I'd want to know, just like with Karl Anthony Towns, and we will get to on another episode today of Mackey and Judd, a very juicy rumor, but what are you getting for Spurgeon? Because you do need to perform well in the regular season too, like to get to the playoffs. So I'm not just going to trade him for a second-round pick or something. But
nope.
But I'm open-minded at this point. Unless you're Kaprizov, there's probably 3 guys I'm not trading on this team, and everyone else is open for business if you can make your team better.
Yeah, Spurgeon's playoff performances, I think, run very counter to what we see in the regular season, and he plays such an important role. I don't know that is acceptable. Like, to me, at some point in time, because it's not just well, it's 2 bad playoff series or 1. It's an extension of, okay, at some point it becomes a lifetime achievement award, and I don't mean that in a good way. So anyway, something to think about.
Okay.
Okay, we have 3 slices left, and here are the big ones. 20% goes to Matt Boldy. No goals and 3 assists, a -5 in 6 games, and a complete no-show, I think that's safe to say, after he signed a 7-year, $49 million contract and had a marvelous March. The contract kicks in next year. But, I mean, he basically, if there was a play each spring called the Wild Playoff, and then in quotations, funny, run, because it's not a run, and Kevin Fiala called in sick this year, and there had to be a stand-in, and the stage announcement is made. Playing the role of Kevin Fiala is Matt Boldy. It was the same disappearing act, and it was inexcusable. There was probably one game where I felt I saw him. There's a difference between being snake bit, well, that's hockey, and not scoring and disappearing, okay? There is an eye test here. And Matt Boldy failed the eye test miserably. And I don't think there's any excuse for that. I really don't. Like, what are we still saying? It's playoffs. He's new. Well, he played in the playoffs last year. This was disturbing.
And again, and you've got more slices here, but like different players, some of the players have kind of like the defensemen that you just mentioned have kind of gone across 2 different eras of wild hockey. But you can change the coach, you can change the GM, you can change some of the players, and for 12 years basically, it's been the same result outside of a couple first-round series wins. Isn't it just kind of amazing that young player after young player, and then even the players that emerge into their primes, but outside of a goal or 2 here or there, Granlund was a playoff bust.
Yep.
Zucker was famously a playoff bust with this team. Coyle was a regular season and playoff bust, I would argue. It's just amazing. Like, can't some of these dudes just elevate? Why can't Boldy just score 3 goals in a series and you win in 6 or 7 games? It's just, why can't Zucker just go bonkers for 5 goals in a series against the Blues or somebody? It's so weird. It's 12 years of the same pattern.
Declan?
And you see guys like Wyatt Johnston, who's 19 years old, by the way, with the Stars, who scored 30 goals. Like, the Stars, pun intended, star players showed up. They showed up. Rope Hintz was awesome. They have plenty of great depth, obviously, with great offensive scoring players. This kid, Wyatt Johnston's 19 years old, and he shows up in the playoff series. Matt Boldy is also in his early 20s and is just a ghost. Like, it's a wanted poster. Have you seen Matt Boldy? Section 102, have you seen Matt Boldy? Where the hell is he? Their players, their consistent core and star players fail to show up in big moments for them.
Yeah.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
And just quickly, before anyone, because I'm sure it'll be said, it's already being used, well, Joel Eriksson Ek was out. What are they supposed to do? He's their best center, blah, blah, blah. All right, Joe Pavelski got hurt in game 1. He is an incredibly important part of Dallas. Tyler Seguin stepped up, took his role. They absolutely were fine. So, guys get hurt in the playoffs. This isn't about guys being hurt. This is about, and this comes back to games 5 and 6 to me, which were non-competitive games. Foligno got tossed, and you freaked like Gretzky got thrown out. Game 6, you get off to a great start. You have Hartman almost score. Dallas comes down and scores, and you're just done. So that's what this is about. All right, 20% to Boldy, 25%, no surprise, to Kirill Kaprizov.
Wow.
Went from 7 goals in 6 games last spring against the Blues to 1 power play goal in game 1. And then, as The Athletic pointed out, after that game 1 power play goal, he went 373 minutes and 8 seconds without a single point. I thought he played well in game 4. I thought he was part of the problem again in game 5 and 6. But playing well in game 4 is not enough. Not when you're at, $9 million a season. Not when you are expected to do more. Well, he's hurt. Okay, well, you know what? Again, everybody's hurt. Dallas had guys who were probably hurt who are going to go play in the second round. Kirill's lack of production, Kirill's play, not acceptable. And this is now 2 series that Kirill Kaprizov, as a member of the Wild, has played against a Pete DeBoer team, also going back to that Golden Knights series. and I think he's got a total of Dex, a couple of goals across 13 games.
Yeah,
So,
he was great, obviously, last year against the Blues. He was their whole offense.
Yep.
But he has been now shut down twice, and Peter DeBoer's kind of been the figurehead of him being shut down in the playoffs.
And if you shut him down, you're probably going to, if someone would have said, hey, the Stars are going to shut down Kaprizov almost entirely in this series. I said, wow, the Wild made it a 6-game series still? It doesn't excuse it. I think that's what we do sometimes is, well, what are you supposed to do? Kaprizov got shut down. Find a way to unlock him. I don't know.
well, or if someone had come to me at the beginning of the series and said, Kaprizov's going to be shut down, but it goes 6 games, I'd say, okay, that's awesome, because Boldy played really well.
Yeah.
Not
It's actually
Freddie
kind of a
Gaudreau's
miracle.
3 goals.
The fact that it went 6 games and Boldy and Kaprizov were on milk cartons is kind of amazing in itself. Hang the banner. I'm celebrating, actually, now that you're going. The more you go through this pie chart, I'm like, wow, they grinded their asses off.
knows
Pretty
what a
amazing.
Great
About
season.
Yeah.
Extend Dino again. Speaking of Dean Evison, he is going to get the final chunk, 30%. Again, ideal world, I would like to give everybody more. I wish it was a 200% pie, but it's a 100% pie, and so I've got to cut Dean off at 30%. This is not just for this playoff. It's also a cumulative Wild playoff award to Dean, who is now 8-15 in 4 first-round series, all of which have been losses, who was 1-12 as coach of the American Hockey League Milwaukee Admirals and had 4 first-round losses, who has not won a playoff series since he was coaching in the Junior Western Hockey League, where he won 2 first-round series and never got past the second round. He oversaw a team that gave up 9 power play goals on 24 chances, while his power play was 4 for 22. He had a goaltender coming off a marvelous 51 save game with a day of rest. Oh, he was too tired. He's a young man with a day of rest, and he decided that he was going to stick to how we've always done things this year, which is the flower starts. He was taken to school at every turn by Pete DeBoer, who's a good coach, but he ain't Scotty Bowman. He ain't one of the greats here. 30% goes to Dean, who according to reports, is safe. And I understand that the Wild probably does not want to pay him. I think he has a couple years left on his contract. But I don't see him as the answer for any playoff success ever.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to sort of debate the resume, the postseason resume that you just put out there. So why would there not be a consideration here? Why would you, as a franchise that's trying to, if you're Craig Leopold and you're Bill Guerin doesn't give a rip about just like having a pretty good regular season and getting in, right?
Right.
As you're objectively looking at every aspect of your franchise, I'm not saying he has to be fired, but why would it not be a conversation just looking at the whole landscape here? Wouldn't you say, because you're not, it's not like you have a bunch of cap space. What are the levers that you can pull here? Well, you don't have cap space. You could make a couple trades, but the biggest lever you could pull is find a coach that gets more out of the same crew or a similar crew in the postseason, right? So wouldn't you at least have a discussion about pulling that lever?
I think it's an internal discussion. But I also think that they are reluctant to pay him for a couple of years. And so I think the decision won't come down to, well, he did a good job. I think the decision will come down to, you know what? We paid Boudreaux to go away. We paid a bunch of guys. I think there gets a certain, I think there's a certain breaking point on the owner's part about that. There's also a conversation to be had, too, about what the immediate future is going to hold, because the Parise and Suter buyouts are going to tighten the cap by another $2 million next season, so it's going to go up again. I think there's an episode to be done here, either with us or at JHS, talking about what the plan should be for next year. I think you are to a point where you also have to play the kids, and if you miss the playoffs, you just do. Because here's the thing, this was fun, right? And you put together this well-constructed team, totally different than last year. You made these trades. It's going to be a tougher team, and it's the exact same result. So clearly this formula is not working.
Yeah.
Marco Rossi, it's go time, guys. Like, let's get done with this. Well, he needs more seasoning, and okay, that's been 2 years of that crap. He was the 9th overall pick.
Yeah,
no,
can he play?
Yes, exactly. And there's only one place to find out, and it's here. And that doesn't mean because he struggles for 20 games, he's a bust. It means you got to play him for 80. Now, if he struggles for 80 games, that might be a huge problem. But it's time to find out. And this greater good of both, but the veterans, we owe them more. Well, the last time I checked, the veterans have been golfing after the first round for the last 8 years. You owe them nothing at this point.
Yeah. Wow, there it is. A fired up Judd Zulgad here.
2 days of
chart
great
of
hockey. And I had to
Wild
watch that BS on Friday.
You know who's not a bust? Our friends at EcoFun, okay? And it is scooter season for those of you who partake. And if you want a real adult scooter, you can save $300 off the total price of a new Yamaha Zuma 125 fuel-injected scooter. Lowest price ever. Also, let's see here. Beat the man at the pump this summer with scooters that average 100 to 120 miles per gallon. No interest financing on all scooters for up to 1 year. They also have great deals on side-by-sides. EcoFun. You can also save $400 on electric bikes. EcoFun. Check them out. So 3% Marcus Johansson, 3% Zuccarello, 9% over to Brodin, back to Spurgeon for 10%, over to Boldy, cycles to Kaprizov, and Dean Evison gets the biggest chunk of pie here at 30%. 7 slices on that Judd Zulgad pie chart.
The Rock knows how you
And there
feel
could have been
about
more.
pie.
Has anyone
started
done
with more.
the unprecedented act of putting a second pie in the oven for a pie chart of blame?
Did you do that once? I feel like we did that once for somebody.
Just here's
it
5
could have been done
slices, but
for
oh
this.
my God, look, there's another pie in here.
It could have been done for this. I took out Foligno. I took out a couple of people.
Foligno would have been on mine. He kind of derailed a couple games by just being a hooligan or just being uncoordinated. I don't know. One or the
I
other.
believe I think in 6 games he had 36 minutes and penalties.
Yeah, dude, calm
That's
down.
a lot of penalties.
This is not 1986, guy. Okay, just stop flailing your skates. Stop. Anyways, we will have a note on what this Wild playoff loss meant in historical context over on the other episode of Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd. Your home for daily Minnesota sports entertainment, speculation, and on days like today, therapy.